I'm Danny Hermes, member of developer relations here at Google. I work on commerce, as many of you know, and we're here to talk today about the Content API for shopping. And in particular, we have two guests to talk about the Google Affiliate Network and product listing ads. So right next to me is Claire Hugo. She works on PLAs here in Mountain View with me. And in the pink shirt, I'll let him introduce himself, as Mark Coppin from Chicago to talk about GAN. So to start us off, Mark has a few words to say, and then we'll be fielding questions from you guys. So, Mark?
Sure. Thanks, Danny. Hi, guys. Mark Coppin. I'm a manager on the Google Affiliate Network. We are a cost per acquisition or cost per sale advertising network. So a little different pricing model than CPC or CPM. And the relevant piece here is that we also use content that or products that advertisers are submitting to Merchant Center, and make those available to our publishers through published feeds and the Content API. So thought I'd join and see if anyone had any questions about our products.
So if you guys can't think of anything right now, I can get Mark to come back another time. I know you guys have some other concerns about some of the announcements, but if you have questions right now, then Mark is a great resource. So anybody have anything they're curious about with Google Affiliate Network?
Yeah, sorry, it's John here. Mark, sorry, could you just spend 2 minutes just walking through kind of what the process is and how ads get tied up with content feed, if you don't mind, please, Mark?
Sure. So our publishers join our network. They join through, they actually have to have an AdSense account because we pay through AdSense. But once a publisher has joined our network, they can apply to work with specific advertisers. So one thing that's a little unique about the affiliate advertising space compared to, say, display networks is that, sorry, there's some construction going on around here, is that publishers choose what advertisers they want to work with and what ads they like to run on their site. In a lot of cases, the content on a publisher's site is the actual ads. You can think of like a loyalty model or a coupon site that's aggregating coupon content or products on their site. That is more the typical affiliate business model than say I just want to put an ad tag on my site and let a network fill it, and do sort of yield optimization for me. A lot of affiliate publishers are doing sort of their own yield optimization and content aggregation. So specific to sort of the Content API, you can think of publishers that are creating like virtual shopping experiences, right? They're comparing products or letting consumers compare products on their site, and then sending those consumers off to the advertiser's site for hopefully a conversion. So compare prices and colors and descriptions and stuff like that, and then send that traffic to a Kohl's to actually purchase a product, and then earn a commission on that purchase. So that's sort of the more typical business model for an affiliate publisher.
Thanks. Does anybody have any other questions? All right. Thanks, Mark. We do have some questions from Andrew LaMonica in his absence today, but he sent them to me when he heard we were going to be talking a bit about ads and the affiliate network. So, Mark, if you want to head out, feel free. Otherwise, if you want to stick around, we'd love to have you for further inputs. So the first question from Andrew, how, if at all, does including AdWords PLAs affect normal Google product search visibility? For example, if he Googles funny yellow mechanical pencil and the PLA for his oddly specific product shows up, will that prevent his product from also showing up in shopping results module in natural search? So, Claire?
So PLAs do not affect an item showing up in Google product search. And so if you're promoting a product through product listing ads and then also through product search, then you have the opportunity to show in both channels.
Thank you. As a follow-up, actually, do you want to restate this question?
The second one?
Yeah.
Okay, so the second question was about the seller reviews that show alongside product search results. And so in some cases, some companies have that available and some do not. And so this question is more specific to product search. And if you go to the Google Merchant Help Center and search on seller ratings, there's a full article about how we will automatically crawl third-party review sites and then match those ratings for our results. And if they're not appearing for a particular merchant, there is some information there on how to research that and how to escalate, so those can be reviewed as well.
Okay. So it's sort of a third party combined with also some other input from the merchants themselves. Okay. So another question from Andrew was about errors. So if there are products that are disapproved for product ads but not disapproved for product search, how can they tell? Will this show up in the data quality section, or is there some other place that they should be going to find out about these errors?
So if there are items that are disapproved for product listing ads, that should typically be listed in the data quality tab. For example, if an item has a trademark term in the title and it's disapproved for the trademark, then that would be apparent on that data quality tab. There's also information on the products tab where we have two columns, one for product search and one for product ads. So you're able to see a green check mark if it's approved for product search, and then say the item was disapproved for a trademark, then you would see the red circle for product ads. And on the data quality tab is a good place to see the summary, so you can see 5% or the number of items disapproved for a particular reason. But on the products tab is where you can see for individual products. Great.
And Andrew also says this is a feature that he's interested in. Some of you might be as well. Since a product initially starts out as disapproved for product ads and then has to be matched with a campaign, he says it'd be nice to have a way where he could filter out and find which ones had been matched and which hadn't. And that's something we're certainly going to take as good feedback and pass along to the team. And a final question he has, which is again sort of speculative or feature request, is are there any plans to add a performance table for PLAs, or is there another place where we can see that existing data?
Yeah, so right now for product listing ads, the best way to see performance data is to look in the AdWords interface. And there you can see impressions, clicks, click-through rate, spend, conversion data if you have conversion tracking implemented. And we are making a lot of improvements to the performance tab in Merchant Center as well. Hopefully you've noticed that over the past couple months. And I would expect to see more improvements in the short term as well.
Great. Great answers. And in absentia, great questions, Andrew. So now for the people actually on the call, do you guys have any questions for Claire or Mark? PLA questions for Claire or GAN questions for Mark, or questions for me?
Yeah, is it okay if I ask, can you go ahead, could you just explain in a nutshell again what I was reading in the announcement about how, my understanding about, are all product listings now for Google Product Search going to be part of the AdWords system? You're saying you have to be submitted through Content API, but then they have to match something in AdWords in order to be able to be listed in Product Search? Can you explain how that's going to work?
Sure. So with the new shopping experience that we'll be launching in October, we'll require that the Merchant Center have a linked AdWords account and have a campaign live with product listing ads in order to show in our shopping property. So that means you can continue on with the feed or using the API as normal on the Merchant Center side, but then each account will need to have that AdWords account linked and a bid for each of the products to be promoting it.
So does that mean that once the Content API uploads a product, let's just say it's a new product, you've just posted it, it's going to show up in the AdWords interface under PLA? Or?
So there's a few ways you can do it. On the AdWords side, you can create an ad group or campaign to promote all products from your Merchant Center. So that means anytime you add a new product on the Merchant Center side, it will automatically be matched to that all products target in the AdWords account. You can also get more granular with the PLA campaign. So if you want to bid differently for different sets of products, then you can have a target just for your apparel products, and then you can also have that all products target. So in that case, you have apparel where you want to bid $1, and then you have the all products where you want to bid 50 cents. And that way you still have full coverage for everything that's being submitted through Merchant Center.
Is there going to be minimum bidding required for those ads? Because I'm just imagining a situation where if you haven't met the minimum bid for a given product, it wouldn't show up at all, right?
Right. So every time you have a product listing ad, it will enter an auction, and the minimum bid is going to be 1 cent for. With that said, if you're bidding that low, it's possible that the traffic will be really low. So it's a matter of understanding the products that are being promoted, the competition, and finding that sweet spot where it's profitable for the advertiser and you're getting the traffic that you're interested in.
So you can set up an ad group that has, say, some spending limit, like is it per month, I guess, but
you can do per day.
Okay, per day, right, per day, and then you can have they could put in some upper bid amount as a product group, and then as the content appy submits these products, as long as they come in under that daily spend, it will keep showing those ads at wherever they land based on the auction.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So Danny in the chat is asking for a clarification. She asks, even if an advertiser is the only advertiser, is it possible that the products won't show up if the bid's too low?
If the product has a bid associated with it and it's the only item that's eligible for the query, then it should show in that case. So that's why we're encouraging advertisers to promote all of their products, even with a low bid. And then we also have an incentive program that can be found through the Commerce blog or the Inside AdWords blog, where you can get a $100 coupon for AdWords for new PLA advertisers. And if you promote all products, then you can get 10% of your PLA spend credited to your account every month through the end of the year.
Okay, great, super helpful. So John is asking, and Danny is asking in chat because she doesn't have a mic, but if you want to ask with your microphone, you can, or I can read it, either one.
Yeah, it's just a quick question. How does this tie in with multi-client accounts?
Right. So I've actually been looking at some internal conversations about this. This isn't 100% clear yet. I don't know if Claire has any insights on it. If not, then we'll certainly update you as we know more internally. Do you?
Yeah, that's something I would want to follow up on to make sure we have the right information.
From what I understand, you can programmatically using APIs connect each sub-account with a different campaign. But I don't have a really good understanding from a technical standpoint or from sort of account rules and things like that standpoint. So I don't want to give you any false information yet. But the conversations are being had internally, and that is one of the main workflows that needs to be ironed out. So thanks for the question, and we'll try to get a better answer.
So Danny, that what you're saying is that in terms of linking the content appy products as we submit them through this AdWords link, that's going to be determined right now. I mean, in other words, you said earlier the AdWords account was going to be connected to the MCA account some kind of way in an automated way. In other words, we can submit it automated.
So there are some other details there, like you may want each of your individual sellers to have their own individual AdWords account that they manage, or that they give you some settings through your interface that you send through to manage, rather than having a single account associated with the MCA that is a catch-all for everybody. For large marketplaces, that model probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because you have all across the spectrum different kinds of sellers. You have big sellers and small sellers. You have sellers that have big marketing budgets and have small marketing budgets. And then you just have sellers that are probably selling different kinds of products with different different bid levels that are found out in the actual auctioning on a regular basis, right? So there are a lot of details there and a lot of tiny pieces in the big machine to figure out. And so like I said, there is a conversation being had, and it's not 100% decided or determined what the way to go about it is. But certainly in the simple case, you can still associate an AdWords account with the parent MCA, and that will propagate across to everyone. But there's a lot more involved.
Okay. Is that documented somewhere?
Not that I know of. Is it in the Merchant Center docs? In our docs, we certainly don't get into any of that, but
I don't think we have it right now
Okay.
as far as the MCA structure and the linkage, but that's something I can request and share with the
certainly.
content team.
And feedback from guys like you, top contributors to our forums and things like that, important members of our community. There's things we listen to and work that we put out for ourselves to make documents. If there is something that there's a resounding voice saying it's not clear, then we want it to be clear, and we want to clear it up. So keep giving that feedback if you see something you think should be documented and isn't.
There is an AdWords API, right? Or is
Yeah.
there?
I don't know a whole lot about it, but certainly there are APIs for many different pieces of the AdWords, DoubleClick, etc. And very similar, if not better, support with client libraries and things like that, and documentation for the client libraries. They're relatively similar, but I'm not sure if they're API or GData APIs. There is a little bit different in the client libraries when you go from one to the other. But in either case, .NET will be supported 100%, Luke. So
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Do they have somebody like you in their division who we can talk to, or is it more?
There are much bigger teams in DevRel. They have many more than me. They have 3, 4, 5 for each particular aspect that you would consider.
Okay.
So yeah, there is AdWords DevRel. There's DoubleClick DevRel. There's oh gosh, there's all kinds of things. There are even DevRel specific to Android, specific to iOS, etc. AdMob, there we go. That's the thing I couldn't think of. But yeah, they are a part of DevRel, and they are a relatively big team. If you go to developers.google.com/events, you can actually see when they're doing their office hours, because it'll be on the schedule. And if you want to post a question on the forum about what their forums are, I can reach out to some of those team members and find the best places, for you to.
Can you give me that address again? What was that URL?
Developers.google.com/events.
/events. Gotcha.
Yeah. That's where we post all of our events. So does anybody have any other questions, or did we sort of run out of questions about PLAs and the integration and the announcement and things like that? Looks like Danny's typing a question. Or maybe she's typing to say no more questions. She says she's trying to set up a new PLA ad from scratch. She made an ad group, and I bet there's a question coming after. And on the new ad, she sees, I'm going to wait till she's done and then just summarize.
I have a guess what she sees.
Okay. Okay, so she says she's trying to set up a new PLA from scratch. She made a new ad group, and on the new ad she sees some text, an image, an ad builder, and a WAP. Not sure what that is. And she wants to know which one she should choose to actually make a PLA.
So when you're setting up a PLA, you want to first extend the campaign settings to promote products from Merchant Center. So if you
we can actually share our screen if you want, and you can do this, and they can watch what you're doing. Would you want to do that?
Do you have an AdWords test account?
I don't, but we can open an incognito window and you can sign in with yours. I don't know if that would be.
No, I can't.
How about this? I'll invite you to the Hangout and you do it from your machine. Okay? All right. Technical issue here. We're going to add one more participant. We're going to actually add Claire's account. I think she's already been invited, but I will make sure. There we go. Great question, Danny, and there's nothing better than a live demo during a Hangout. So, you've been invited to the Hangout.
I don't actually have the login.
Gotcha. So Luke, have you had a chance to check out the new docs that I published since we last spoke?
Yeah, I did. They're excellent.
What do you think of the new API for the library? In this case, the interface for the library rather than the actual online API.
Yeah,
much more intuitive, right?
Yeah, I think you did a great job. It's excellent.
Thank you. And I'm a Python developer. I pretty much tried to make it as Pythonic as I could. And it's nice. You know, Python, you can't have different signatures for the same function, but I kind of like that in .NET and other compiled languages. You know, it's a cute little language. Though I don't like compiling all the time, so I'm going to stick with my dynamic languages on a regular basis. But we're trying. We don't have a writer on our team right now, but we're trying to improve on those a bit more and combine them into a single document and just like sort of have a choice where you pick what language and things like that. You know, there's also some MCA and data feeds functionality in those libraries that is there, but just not documented as well. And so we're trying to sort of balance that workload with I/O preparation, which is quite intense right now. So I don't know that we'll see that before July, but it's something that's certainly on our horizon. Do you want to just do all of this in the Hangout?
Well, let me see if this will work, actually.
Okay. We want to make sure it works before we actually show it. John, I looked into getting a Raspberry Pi, and it is on my that's interesting list. I don't know if it's quite on my to-do list just yet, but it's something I've looked into since you suggested it about a month ago or whenever you brought that up. Python for education, yeah. Claire is an AdWords whiz. I can't believe it.
It's just I have the account set up, so I can't look at my test account unless I access ICS, which I can't display.
Right.
Can I just talk through this?
Sure.
Okay. Because I can't show a portion of this window, right?
No. You cannot.
Okay.
Okay, so
sorry about that.
So Claire doesn't think she can get a demo with enough information redacted for it to be showable. So she's just going to talk through some of the settings.
Yeah, so once you're in the AdWords interface, when you're creating a new campaign or editing an existing campaign, if you click into that campaign, so click on the name either in the left nav or on the campaigns tab in the center, and then click on the settings tab. And if you scroll down, you should see an option to extend the campaign with items from Google Merchant Center. And this will only happen after you have linked your Merchant Center account with your AdWords account. So if I can just back up one step, within the Merchant Center account, if you click on the Settings tab, and then it will expand, and you can click on the AdWords link and then add your 9-digit or your 10-digit customer ID from the AdWords account. And once you've done this, then in the AdWords account, you'll see on that campaign settings tab the option to extend with products from your Merchant Center account. And so once you've selected that box, when you are in the new ad group or the existing ad group, and you click on Create a New Ad, you'll have, among the options that Danny already listed, you'll see the option to create a product listing ad.
Awesome.
And there's also actually a video that goes through all of these steps, and that's at...
Well, I can link to the video
Okay.
in my G Plus stream, in the forum summary of this video, as well as in the YouTube comments.
Okay.
Or excuse me, the YouTube description of this video. So we will get that to you guys after the fact, but I don't think reading it aloud will be that helpful.
Yeah.
Though putting it in chat might be. But well, thanks for the question, Danny. I think that was a good question, and the demo I saw was pretty cool over here. Sorry you guys couldn't see it. If there are no more questions, we'll wrap up before 11 like we usually do, but I'll allow the floor to be open for questions one last time, going once.
Let me ask just one more thing about impressions data. Was impressions data still on the list for?
It is. It's, as I found out, something that is easy to do, though it's not something that is necessarily something we want to do. So it's not a yes or a no. It's in discussion. So, well, easy. That's probably not the right way to put it. The right way to put it. But it is still on our radar, and it's still being discussed. And I'll update that bug if it does get added, and certainly update the documentation.
Okay.
Danny is typing something. Okay, so it's another PLA AdWords interface question. Is this Merchant Center or?
That's AdWords.
Okay.
The product extension tab. So within AdWords, there's an Add Extensions tab, but where you want to set up the product listing ads is actually on the Auto Targets tab. So on the Merchant Center option, it looks like she's seeing her ID and company name. And so that would display when you're linking the campaign to the Merchant Center account. And so it sounds like she may be seeing different Merchant Center accounts listed there, which may be the case if there's a multi-client account involved. So, no, she's still typing.
The power of microphones.
So, Danny, as far as we know, we can't, through the Content API, add the AdWords customer ID under NCA yet, right?
I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
I don't know in either direction.
Okay. I mean, eventually we'll want that, right?
Yeah. There have been talks for some more features in the Content API that give a tighter integration between the two.
Yeah, because, you know, we're trying to automate it, right? So,
right.
I mean, I don't want to have to manually do it, so, okay.
Right.
Okay.
So Danny's asking, she sees multiple extensions from a single account, but they're already extensions and they have the same name. And she's curious which one is the correct one. But I think without actually seeing the account, it would be a bit unclear as to what she's looking at. Is that correct?
Yeah, if they're all the same account ID, then you should just be able to choose one of those. But it would probably be easier to look at the specific.
Danny,
account.
if you're comfortable sharing your screen, we may be able to help. I don't know that that's something you want to do. Actually, you know what? Let's hold off on that. But are there any particular forums that you recommend asking questions like this, or any particular things that people should be searching for or looking for?
Yeah, there's the, if they're PLA-specific questions, I would ask a question to the AdWords forum, and then if it's on the Merchant Center side, there's the Merchant forum.
Okay.
So in either case, we'll be able to field and point users in the right direction.
Cool. All right. Danny says thanks. So that looks like it's going to be it for us today. Thanks a ton to Claire, and thanks to Mark for the introduction you gave. I'm sorry, Mark, we couldn't feed more questions your way. But our guests were phenomenal today, and it was great to have them. It certainly makes my morning a bit easier. Everybody be well. Our next time we meet will not be in 2 weeks. It'll be in 4 weeks because 2 weeks is Google I/O, and I will be super duper busy. So 4 weeks, which, well, I don't know the exact date, so I'm not going to say a wrong one. I actually said an incorrect one for our last Hangout. And also, I found we're being moved again. Last time it was from Wednesdays to Tuesdays. Next one will be on a Thursday. But I will certainly give ample time and may have another guest then as well, maybe a PM or the tech lead on the engineering team. But maybe it'll be just me. But thanks, everybody. Have a nice day or night in John's case. Danny, I'm not sure what time zone you're coming from. But Mark, have a nice afternoon. I know it's already afternoon in Chicago. But see everybody later. And thanks, everybody, for watching on YouTube as well.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.